It's time for Chad and Wes Watch a Trailer.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chad and Wes Watch a Trailer. This is Wes.
And this is Chad. We have been struggling with this start.
The struggle bus came and parked at Chad's house, and we've been on it.
Anyway, Wes, what are we here to watch today? What trailer?
We are going to be watching Marvel's Captain America Civil War trailer number dos. That's 2 for you Americans out there who don't speak Spanish.
Wow. Yes, Captain America Civil War, the second trailer. I am so excited for this movie.
Yep. It's been out for a few days. We've been
busy.
We've been busy. Life happens. Whatever.
Yes.
But it's fine, because now it's had time to marinate.
You know what? Our next episode, or one of our next episodes, is going to be like so on the money timing. It's going to be amazing.
That's good. Maybe we'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah, well, teaser. It's going to be at the end for for one of our upcoming episodes.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're watching this on the YouTubes. This is Marvel's YouTube channel. Marvel's Captain America Civil War Trailer 2 is where you'll find it. You can also find it ka-ching, right here.
Yes, you can watch it here if you're watching YouTube, or you can find it in the description, comment, whatever area.
Whatever that box is.
Yeah, I'm sure every place that we post it calls it something different.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, anyways.
Anywho.
But yeah, have it loaded up if you're listening there on the SoundClouds and the iTunes and the podcast apps and all that kind of good stuff.
Indeed.
But if you're one of our faithful YouTube followers, good for you, because you don't have to look up any of this stuff. You can just watch it right here.
That's true. All right, you ready to press play?
Yep.
All right,
let's do it.
On 3, 2, 1, hit it.
Okay, I got mountains and snow. Oh, is he stuck in the snow again? God damn it.
Save as many people as we can.
So much snow with Captain America.
Sometimes that doesn't
Vader.
mean everybody.
It's just Star Wars.
So don't give up.
I've seen this one.
So,
Oh, Marvel's doing this one. That's good.
yeah, right.
I've seen that movie.
So it's like
Washington,
they're really
D.C.
saving on production costs here. They're just playing clips from old movies.
Sokovia. Okay, that's enough.
Oh, it hurt her
Captain,
feelings.
Yeah.
people are
I like
afraid.
how he's like paying attention to her feels.
That's why I'm here.
So
We need to be put in check.
I find that interesting, since the like whole plot
form
of
that
one of
takes
the
from
Iron
me.
Man movies was him fighting
I'm
government
sorry,
control.
If I see a situation pointed south,
Well.
I can't ignore it.
I know.
Sometimes
I
wish
we
I
will.
could.
Then also
Sometimes I wanna punch
the
you in your
prison there that
perfect teeth.
pops up,
I know we're not
and the
perfect.
super fast Black Cat.
I was a lot
Safest
more excited about
thing
Black
is still
Panther
out.
after this trailer. We'll talk about that too.
I thought it was Black Cat. Isn't that the name of the DC version of Black Panther?
There's Wildcat.
Wildcat.
I was wrong about you.
Oh,
no.
this.
What'd you do to my buddy?
The whole
No.
world was wrong about you.
I mean, I'm assuming he's knocked out there. They're not going to reveal the death of a major character like that in a trailer.
Maybe not. Now I'm trying to think of other times they've revealed a death in a trailer. But
This doesn't have to end in a fight, Tony.
sure does. Smack.
If it doesn't, why would we make a movie about it?
He looks at the camera and he's like, "You're right," and then he goes to the credits.
Oh,
That's these couple of scenes right here.
yep. So many like
Stay down. Final warning.
cool dynamics slash.
I could do this all day.
Yep. Throwback to first Captain America.
Yep. And fight.
It seems like it's almost like in the Avengers where they had that.
Hey everyone.
Ka-cam!
So many people are so excited about that part, and I'm just like, I'm not that excited about it.
Well,
So
let's
start with that.
I'll say let's talk about the red and blue elephant in the room, or the red and blue spider.
So what? Tell me why that excites you so much? Because I
So-
will probably concede most of those points.
Yeah. So you and I have talked a lot about this on this very show, about anything that Marvel can get and pull into this universe is a good thing.
Sure.
So I know that
It absolutely is exciting for the fact that they have found a property that is not Marvel's that is willing to work with them.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
and not just a character, but a character like Spider-Man that has, I mean, when you when you look at Marvel and all the stuff's going on, you've got like the Avengers kind of corner of the universe, you've got the X-Men corner of the universe, and then Spider-Man really kind of has his own little corner where he crosses over into those other areas, but he has so many villains that are just his, or primarily Spider-Man villains, and his whole cast of characters that, I mean, that's a big get for Marvel to be able to pull all those people into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery is kind of lame, though.
I'm not saying it's not lame. I'm just saying...
like, what was it, Vulture? It was like one of his big villains.
Everything's based on an animal. So there's
so lame.
Vulture, the Lizard, Black Cat, Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not saying whether or not they are great rogues,
Sure.
a great rogues gallery, but nevertheless, they are recognizable, and they are, you know, a key. I mean, it's a very large cast of characters, so it's good for them to be able to pull that in. I'm a much larger Spider-Man fan than you are. I know you've said you're not the biggest Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
However, there are a lot of people out there that, for them, Spider-Man is Marvel, and Marvel is Spider-Man, and
Yeah.
this is just one of those things that really kind of solidifies the legitimacy of this universe to be able to pull him in. Aside from all that, do you have any problems with that? Anything you need to clean up? Anything you need to...
No, I was going to say, like I said, I will probably concede most of the points that you're excited about.
Yeah.
That is a cool thing about him being in this movie.
Yeah. Specifically about the scene. A couple things that I like.
Okay.
Which maybe you won't. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, yeah.
So first of all, the fact that Tony Stark calls him Underoos.
I love it.
is just-
I have a coworker that when we watched this was like rolling his eyes and hated the fact that he said Underoos. And I was like, you do realize that, like, especially the Tony Stark of the MCU, like, does the nicknames for guys all the time. He like called Point Break. He called Thor Point Break.
Thor's Point Break. Hawkeye is Legolas.
Yeah, I mean, like, he does that. So, like, that totally fit,
Yeah.
I thought.
And the fact that he's probably one of the older Avengers on there, and then he's got literally this kid coming onto the team. Like, it would make sense he would call him Underoos.
Yeah.
And also the fact that Underoos back in the day, I mean, was
Yeah.
like where you had your Spider-Man Underoos.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But so I thought that was cool. The fact that, like, he whips Captain America's shield away from him and ties up his hands. You know, we don't really know at that point if that's the first time Captain America sees Spider-Man. I'm assuming it is, because it seems like he was a little surprised, but, you know, I don't know. But then the costume. I really like the costume because it looks like 1960s cartoon Spider-Man. Very flat. It doesn't have a whole lot of that, like, 3D textured webbing that the other ones had. And the fact that they were able to give, like, the motion to the eyes.
Yeah. So in looking online, I saw, you know, a number of people that do have more knowledge about comic books in general and or Spider-Man specifically, talking about how, like, with the change in his eyes, they were able to show, like, two really distinctive looks of Spider-Man. Like, two of the most iconic looks were one where the line was thinner and then one where the black line was, you know, thicker.
Yeah, where he's almost, like, squinting.
Right. And so, like, that was, like, two different artists that did it at some point, and, like, they were able to do that and, like, in 5 seconds show these two iconic versions of
Yeah.
Spider-Man, which I thought, okay, that's cool. Like, I don't necessarily appreciate it from a knowledge standpoint, like, but I can appreciate it from, like, oh yeah, you're telling me that this is the case. Great, that's pretty cool. Nice nod to the fans.
Yeah. Well, and it's good just because in the other ones, it's just a plain mask. It would be like if they did Iron Man and they never showed inside the helmet. If it was just always outside the helmet showing the face,
Yeah.
there's no emotion. There's no change there. This has been a really cool way they figured out, okay, why don't we just make it built in? And the eyes are obviously mechanical because you can hear a little whir, and if you look, you can see, like, different layers
yeah.
to it where they're mechanically moving.
Well, he's on Team Iron Man. I'm assuming that this suit was probably made by Iron Man.
Well, and that's the big speculation now is, or the rumor for a while has been that when you first see Spider-Man in the movie, he's wearing, like, some obviously homemade costume with, like, maybe a hoodie.
Maybe why he's being called Underoos is because he literally has, like, underwear on the outside of his outfit
Yeah.
to, like, give the colors.
Yeah. Then you've got Tony Stark, who's like, hey, I've heard about you. Like, I've seen you pop up on, like, the Superhero Index or something. Why don't I make you a better costume and you come hang out with me for a little while? Which is very similar to what happens in the comics, where Tony Stark wants Spider-Man to be on his side, and he gives him this iron spider suit to come and, like, be his pal and to, you know, play with him and be his friend.
Right. So far, I don't have a huge problem. Now, where I will, let's say, have an issue does come back to what we see of him in there, where it looks a bit CG. So I had this problem when we first watched Deadpool, and I thought that it looked very CG in that, and there was quite a bit of CG in there, like know with some of the stunts that he was doing. I mean, clearly, that whole opening sequence in Deadpool was CG and stuff like that. You could totally tell that. But I found out later that some of the things I thought were CG Deadpool were actually him in the suit, and somehow the suit just looks CG.
Right,
on film
with the textures that they use and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so great. I was pleasantly surprised by that, and that may be the case here. But when I saw it, I was like, is it just going to be a freaking CG character the whole time? Like, it looks super CG to me.
I agree. Whenever I first saw it, I thought the same thing. I was like, well, it kind of looks like CG. But then I remember at least the actors talked before about like actually wearing the suit.
Right.
So I don't know if it was just for that sequence, or maybe it's just the way they've designed the suit, the
maybe
color
it looks
palette
that
they're
way.
using. It's just...
So then you pull back to the color palette, and I feel like the MCU has taken these iconic characters and the design of, kind of their costumes and stuff, and brought it into a more realistic way. Like, so you look at Captain America.
Yeah.
He is not super bright red, white, and blue, really. He is kind of a more muted, definitely kind of more, realistic looking thing. And I feel like this Spider-Man is a big departure from that. It is like bright in your face, red and blue. Like, I feel like it doesn't feel like it fits within the universe as much.
I thought you were going to back up your own opinion there, because I feel like, yes, the red is kind of bright, but the blue I felt like was really dark.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and granted, it's one shot, so who knows how it's going to look.
Right, and it's just this one quick deal. And once again, we kind of have a cool moment from the movie that they could have saved for the actual movie. That always bugs me. It's like him coming in and kind of, they've got this obviously tense moment building between Superman, Iron Man.
That's a different movie.
Iron Man and Captain America. And, it looks like it's probably in that big fight scene between all of them.
Yeah.
And they're standing there, and then all of a sudden he comes in out of nowhere with a secret code word and takes away the shield. And that moment could have been really cool to have had in the movie, but... Yeah,
it'd be interesting in the context, but I don't think there's any way that is not a big reveal for Spider-Man. I mean, obviously, because he says, "Hi, everyone." I think that's going to be a big reveal to at least some of the characters that are in the movie.
Sure.
We will have obviously seen Spider-Man by that point.
Sure.
But maybe it's the first time we see him in that suit or something, if Tony really has made the suit.
Well, we don't know. I mean, we don't know anything, honestly.
That's accurate.
Other than that he's going to be in that one scene. That scene could be very near the end of the movie, and there could be talk earlier in the movie, kind of like there was talk in Ant-Man about this guy that swings, through, that climbs walls or whatever that reference was. There could be talk of that, and Iron Man at some point saying that, he's going to go talk to that guy or whatever, and we never see him until that very moment. Yeah. So
he's definitely not a huge player in the movie, at least from what we've seen. He's not in the top billed cast. I mean, you look at the poster, his name doesn't appear on the poster anywhere. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting Spider-Man to be in this movie a whole lot.
Right.
Like I said, predominantly probably right here at the end when they have a big fight or something, but that's probably about it, I would guess.
Right.
I had something to say about Spider-Man. I forgot what it was.
It's all right. So, honestly, that's my issue with the trailer. If I think about the other scenes that we see going throughout it, I mean, they could have kept the prison a secret. You want to talk about Spider? Keep doing the Spider-Man thing. We'll get done with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we've known for a long time that Spider-Man is going to be in this movie. Mm-hmm. How cool would it have been if not only had we not seen Spider-Man, but we didn't even know he was going to be in the movie?
It would have been amazing.
Can you? I can tell you why they didn't do it.
Because they wanted people to come to see the movie that are only Spider-Man fans.
Well, I was going to say the reason they did that is because you wouldn't be able to hear the next minute and a half of the movie, because that there are some people, especially people that we know, would lose their shit if they're in a movie, and they're like,
so many neckbeards in the audience. Just
grown man tears for days.
But that would have been awesome. Think about that
moment. It would have been
awesome.
awesome.
Think about that moment for the fan in the audience. I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan, but I would have really enjoyed that moment, even not being a huge fan of his. Being like, holy crap, how'd they keep this a secret? This is amazing. And I wouldn't have even had the reference of they don't own this property. Maybe I would have been aware of that somewhere in my brain, but I'm not super aware of that type of stuff.
The average moviegoer doesn't know that.
Right. So
nerd boys like us.
Right. So, I just wish that they were able to keep more things to be surprises in movies.
There is a character that we haven't seen yet, in any promotional materials,
Plastic
any of
Man's
the
in
trailers.
this?
Plastic, no, that's a DC character. Whatever. Don't punch Chad in the face. Don't punch Chad in the face. He doesn't know any better.
It's true. I don't.
Baron
What
Zemo.
about Mr. Fantastic?
Not in this movie.
Okay.
Although he's a Marvel character. At least you're circling the drain, Chad. Good job. But one of the villains that's going to be in the movie, Baron Zemo, we've not seen him anywhere in like production.
Who's the actor?
Daniel Bruhl. He was in.
Is he Steve Bruhl's brother?
I don't know who Steve Bruhl is.
You know internet.
Well, you do now because you can look it up. I can't. Inglourious Bastards, the guy who was the sniper up in the tower, like they made the film about.
Yeah.
He goes up to the production booth to try to make nice with the girl or whatever. She ends up they end up shooting each other towards the end of the movie.
It's been too long since I've seen that movie.
Oh, you need to fix that. You should go watch it.
Well,
It's awesome.
I haven't. I just haven't seen it in a while.
Well, Baron Zemo is a fairly big, Avengers villain, especially for Captain America.
Is he related to Hydra?
I want to say yes, but I feel like I'm saying yes just because
Everything is
it's
related to
probably
Hydra?
a safe bet.
We need a new villain.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Now I know Crossbones is in this, and we see him briefly in the trailer, which he was in the last movie in Winter Soldier. He just had not really become Crossbones yet.
Right, yeah. I remember talking about that with you before, and I've seen a lot of the stuff about him in his new suit. I've also seen the little pop figure for it.
Oh, yeah?
Where, through the eye holes of his mask, you can see scarring.
Oh, that's cool.
On the little pop thing. So, clearly they're going to probably play up the fact, all of the damage that was done to him in the second movie.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, I don't think he's necessarily related to Hydra, but
Well,
he was working for Hydra
he was
in
part of Hydra.
Winter Soldier, so honestly, it's a Captain America movie. It would be a little hard if they didn't have Hydra involved. Cause
It would be awesome if they didn't take a break from Hydra for a movie. For one movie, Hydra's rebuilding. They're off in the shadows doing their thing.
we're going to get to Doctor Strange. He's going to be in this alternate dimension with his powers and stuff. Also, he's going to pop up and be like, I work for Hydra. And it's like, God damn it. Chad, one of these days, Marvel, if you keep doing this, I'm talking to you, if you keep doing this, one of these days, this guy's going to get up and walk out of a theater. As soon as somebody says Hydra, Chad's like, I'm like, no, Chad, they said they didn't work for Hydra. Come back.
Yeah, no, I'm sick of Hydra.
Yeah. You mentioned the prison.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the prison is?
I think the prison is really two different things.
Okay,
So-
let's hear it. I think you and I have watched some of the same
Maybe.
people talk about this, so I think I know the two things you're going to mention.
Probably so. I should listen to this today. So
Were they arguing about something, perhaps fighting about movies?
cinematic arguments.
Oh, that could be the name of ours. Go ahead.
I think so. In the original Civil War comic, Tony Stark builds this prison. I think it's called Prison 42, but it's in the negative zone,
Right.
which Marvel does not own the rights for, which I was reminded of today
By a podcast.
by a podcast.
Or video thing.
We're talking
channel.
about movie fights.
They're
Go
awesome.
watch them. They're awesome. I have no
Yeah.
problem plugging them for free.
Why are we not mentioning this? Movie Fights is incredible.
You can watch both of us.
It's on what's their channel? It's
Screen Junkies.
Screen Junkies. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
The
go
Screen
watch
Junkies
them.
channel. Movie Fights.
Bueno.
Hopefully you already watched that. It's
Yeah.
much more popular than we are.
Yeah. But yeah, they were talking about that. So I think it's probably intended to be the replacement for that. However, and when I first saw it visually, my thought was, are they doing the Raft, which is
Right.
eventually a big super villain prison, but maybe it starts out being intended for these guys or for anybody really, I guess
Right.
for that matter.
It's interesting because what I know of it, I got from the same content that you watched today. But it's interesting that, because they don't own the rights to essentially Prison 42 or whatever they call it, which was the 42nd idea that Iron Man had. He sat down with Bruce Banner and who else?
T'Challa, Black Panther.
And they went over and tried to figure out, different ways, different solutions. And this was the 42nd idea that they had. And I guess the one that they ended up going with. So it still could be, that 42nd idea. They could be Prison 42 or whatever they want to call it. And instead of being in the negative zone, it can be in the middle of the ocean in, the depths of the ocean.
Yeah.
Now, once again, I'm recycling things that they said is the amount of money that they would spend on that for the very few amount of villains that we've seen so far in this universe is kind of ridiculous.
Especially when a lot of them are dead.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. Other than unless they're saying basically we are going to put everyone with superpowers in this prison.
I think
even if they're good guys, until we learn how we're going to deal with all of this.
That's absolutely my guess. I mean, just like in the comics, it's not necessarily meant for heroes or villains. It's pretty much anybody who is not going to get in line and go with the program is going to get put in that prison.
Right.
Which, obviously was the heroes was the big part of that in the comics.
Well, it's interesting that I mentioned this during the trailer. Tony Stark was like Mr. Anti-Government control over just his suit. He didn't want to give over his technology. And now he's backing up the government, like wanting to control people.
Yeah. So Jen and I had a similar conversation about him. Do you want to do it?
Nope.
Okay, great. Jen and I were gonna.
Oh, you're gonna say this much as you can.
My wife. We were having a conversation about that because she even said when I showed her the trailer, she was like, "Why is Captain America against the government and Iron Man is with the government?"
It is kind of a role reversal for him.
It is
interesting.
Yeah, which is obviously a typical play on these characters that we already know. But I think it sticks with the arc that we've seen Tony Stark have, where you're right. He kind of gets introduced to the idea of being Iron Man. Then the government wants him to be Iron Man for them and give them his technology. He's like, no way. I'm going to do it my own way. But now he's been doing his own way for a while, and he keeps
keeps going wrong.
Yeah, he keeps creating evil artificial intelligences that destroy a whole country.
Right.
And so there are different things that they've been leading up into this, and about how he has questioned some of his decisions, and even there, like they almost didn't let him create Vision because they're like, everything you touch becomes evil or tries to kill us or something. Like, we can't let you just do this stuff anymore. Where it seems like he's getting to the point where he's starting to be like, he's really progressed as a character. A lot of times you see characters do this, like in a movie. They start out at the beginning and they're such a way, and then by the end they're different. They're playing the long game on this one.
Sure.
We're now,
which is cool,
almost 10 years into these movies,
right.
And now he's really having this, come to Jesus kind of moment. And maybe at the beginning of the movie they talk about it a little bit more. Maybe it's a little bit more on the nose about why it's happening, rather than just leaving it up to us pick it apart and assume a lot from watching all the other movies.
Yeah, it's not that I have a problem with it. I just think it's interesting for this very reason.
Yeah.
That, he has had this change of heart, and I think it does totally. If they're going to tie it right back into, and I mean, they make it pretty clear in the trailer.
Yeah,
they're tying it into hey, all of these things that we have done, have caused so much fallout.
Yeah, and to Steve Rogers' point, like the couple of times that you hear him talking through his monologue in the trailer, he's like, what? He's like, we try our best to save everybody. And, sometimes it's not enough, but at least we can say that we tried, that we did our best and we did what we could. And to him, like, that's all it takes. Like,
and Tony stopped making artificial intelligences.
Yeah. Freaking Iron Man didn't make all our villains for us. It's called, crap, I forgot. Job security. There we go.
There we go.
It's called job security. But I'm trying to think of what else we saw in the trailer. So Winter Soldier, we haven't really talked much about him. It's interesting because the last time we saw Winter Soldier, he had kind of started to remember who he was, and you saw him at the Captain America Museum thing looking at, pictures of himself. So I wonder how much they're going to get into why he's now like just flat out helping Captain America. Like, what is that going to look like, them finding him, and all that kind of crazy stuff. And it seems like they're maybe pointing the finger at him for maybe some things that happen at the beginning of the movie, those explosions that we see.
Well, what I heard, at least the speculation, was that Crossbones is framing him being Winter Soldier. So Crossbones has been framing him for things, and what I've heard some people guess, and this is probably what sparks off, Tony Stark being so adamant about it, is that he takes the shot at what would it be, War Machine?
Yeah.
And so he knocks War Machine out of the air, hopefully just decommissioning him or hurting him really bad. I really hope that they haven't also revealed the death of a character. There.
They've hinted they've pretty much said that there are some large repercussions of things that happen in the movie, and there are some, I can't remember if they actually said casualties, but apparently there's some big things that happen. Like, it's not just to the end of like, oh, we're friends again. But you're right. I hope they haven't shown a death in the trailer, unless they're like, it's a, reverse psychology. It's like, we're going to show it to you, so you think that we're not showing it to you, but we really are. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I also don't know if that's Bucky shooting War Machine. Like when I watched the trailer again the other day, just the way that it's cut, I think it's intended to show you, or like to make you think it is. I don't know if it really is or
That's
not.
what I'm saying is I don't think it is him. I think Crossbone frames him.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what they're coming after, and that's why Tony is so adamant. I need to take this guy out because he shot my friend.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's going to be like kind of the jumping off point for the plot of what's driving between them. Of course, the government has been trying to put this into effect, but why has Iron Man flipped to the other side? Other than seeing the casualties and stuff like that, it's become personal to him.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of what I gathered from that, and from some of the things I've read and or heard.
Yeah. Black Panther, we haven't really talked much about. I will say I'm a lot more excited about him after seeing this trailer than the previous one.
We got to see more of him.
Yeah, he jumps off the front of that car and like moving traffic to freaking like slash Bucky's tire.
Well, he's like faster than everybody, it seems like. He is really, really fast.
Yeah.
And apparently all of his powers come from the suit too, right? He's kind of like Iron Man in that sense. Like his suit augments his speed and
I think so.
Strength and all that.
I wonder how much they're going to get into this in the movie, because they've pretty much said, hey, we are not doing an origin story for T'Challa. We're not doing an origin story for Spider-Man. They're pretty much just going to
jump right into it.
Yeah, kind of jump right
I
in
had this discussion with someone the other day. They're like, well, they've done origin stories for everybody else that's got their own movie. And I'm like, I guess you're right. So far they have, but I don't think they're doing that moving forward.
Yeah, it's... Whenever they got up and they were talking about Phase 3 and all the movies that are coming, because we have a lot more movies coming for first-time characters, you know, they said they weren't against the idea of it doing an origin story, but the story that they wanted to tell had to kind of fit. Right. So if an origin story was what they wanted to do, I mean, like Ant-Man was an origin story. You know, maybe they can, but it almost seems like, and it's interesting how DC and Marvel are kind of lining up on this, where DC is like, hey, we did an origin story for Superman. These other guys, we're pretty much just going to kind of, you know, we'll throw them into like Batman v Superman a little bit, and then Justice League a lot. And we're not going to worry so much about telling like a whole movie dedicated to their origin. We can talk about the particulars along the way and get people caught up.
Like do little flashback sequences or something.
Yeah, and especially like Superman, Batman, you don't have to do origins for them. Everybody's good. Flash, chances are if people are going to see the movie, they are at least aware of the Flash TV show and have a general idea of how his powers come about. So I think there's a lot of stuff that they don't, like because of that, they don't have to get into a lot of that nitty gritty. They can use the audience's prior knowledge to build on that.
Right.
But yes, I mean, maybe they do the same thing with Black Panther, and then when we get to, you know, Captain Marvel, who knows how they're going to do all that.
How about the scene where Scarlet Witch is holding down Vision?
Yeah, that's well. And again, we've talked about this before. Like, thank God you have Scarlet Witch on one side and Vision on the other side. Yeah. Because if you had just one of them on one side, or if both of them are on the other side, that's the winning team. You can call it right now. Right.
Well, but is she fully powered up? That's my question. I mean, seeing her holding him down and kind of taking control of him makes me feel like, well, she's come a long way at the very least, but he might not be fully into his powers yet either, because I'm sure his power set evolves over time as he learns more, and like he doesn't start off and just stay baseline knowledge the whole time.
As an android, does he need to learn anything more? I mean, he's got the mind gem powering him. Does he actually need to learn anything more?
The mind gem's powering him, but can't he change himself and like develop new things within his body? Like I thought he had power to like change his physiology and stuff.
Yeah, but my guess is that, I mean, he obviously already knows how to do that to some extent, because he created his own costume and cape and everything as like the minute he was born.
Right.
So, I mean,
I'm just curious if they're going to make him evolve, or if he's just going to be same power set the whole time.
Yeah.
If it is, and he's as powerful as he is, then she has obviously come into her power.
Yeah.
If he's still growing and developing and learning like how he can manipulate the things he can manipulate, then, you know, they both have somewhere to kind of go.
Yeah. And she's been, you know, training as an Avenger with Cap at the facility. I'm going to assume that timeline wise for this, maybe it's like a year after Age of Ultron. You know, they don't really talk about that here, but I'm sure they will in the movie. So, you know, a year's worth of training for her, I mean, would probably go a long way, because she's already pretty freaking powerful without any training, with her just having her abilities naturally.
Right.
So, I mean, but you're right. I mean, I would assume that she would progress in her powers. him, I would assume that maybe we see new stuff, but I would chalk it up more to he didn't do it in the last movie versus him actually learning about it or advancing his own skills.
Well, it's more like as situations arise, he creates new powers for the situation.
Yeah,
which is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's not that like he couldn't have done this before. He didn't need to, so he hadn't thought of it, so he hadn't done it. It wasn't part of his power set until he thought, oh well, I need to now create laser beams that come out of my nipples.
Very helpful. I think
That's
of
my favorite power.
I think of all the superheroes that have that power, it comes into use a lot. I think. I don't know. I am interested to see that. I mean, hopefully we see a lot more interaction between them besides just that one scene. Because, as we've talked about before, they have such a deep history in the comics that I want to see them explore that some more on screen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the only thing we've really seen them have any kind of much interaction together so far is when he saves her at the end of Age of Ultron.
Yeah, that's the other interesting thing, to go from someone who saved you, saved your life, to obviously attacking him in some way, shape, or form. What has happened between them? Like, what has gone on in their relationship? Or are we seeing a training sequence? Is this actually not part of the conflict? And this is like early movie showing them training at the the Avengers Center, and she's they're like, all right, now concentrate on this, and he's like letting her.
No, you're hurting me. You're totally winning.
Yeah, right. Who knows where that's gonna fall?
Well, I mean, it's entirely possible that can be misdirection, but at some point you're going to see them fight. They're on opposite teams. They've got the big team running at each other sequence, so I'm sure at some point we'll see them fight. Whether or not that is the scene, who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it obviously is a different scene from when they're running at each other.
Right, because
it's inside a building. It doesn't look like it's...
I think it might be inside of the Avengers facility, because I think you can see the Avengers logo like in the corner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, definitely...
I might have figured it out!
Could be. Or maybe it's, marital problems or domestic problems.
That's true.
I'm not cleaning the dishes anymore. Grr. That's what she says.
Wow. Anyway, all right. What else? What else do we got from this trailer? I feel like
man,
we've hit a lot of the big points.
Yeah. I love the sequence, and they showed this at the Super Bowl TV spot trailer thing, but where Tony has like the watch on and he pulls his Iron Man glove on to stop that gunshot, and he kind of does it, and Bucky fires a shot, and he's like, You almost shot me. Were you going to shoot me?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
interesting.
You always see this, like every movie, there's something different with his suits.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2, he's got the briefcase. Avengers, he's got the little bracelet where the thing jumps out the window and like wraps around him. There was something special in Iron Man 3, and I can't remember what it was. But yeah, it's like in this one, he's got... My question is, if like all that's in the watch, like does he have like another watch over here, and it becomes more like where does he keep getting more pieces of the suit from?
Yeah.
Or is that like just one
It's
piece
just
of
a
defense?
glove. It's just a glove. So like he maybe has two wrist things that he can take off with using his hands or something.
Or like block a shot or shoot somebody or something.
I'm sure it'll be explained. Like you'll see it in the movie.
Nah, they probably talk about it.
Because if he just pulls it over here and then the entire suit grows out of that, I'm like,
Well, no.
are we accessing a freaking pocket dimension?
There's something else I thought about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody else about this. I was trying to think about the real world mechanics of how that would work with his eyes moving back and forth. Like, are there sensors like on the side of his temples, or when he squints, like it senses like the muscle differences, so it knows like to change his eyes based on what he's actually really doing with his eyes, which is not that far fetched. But I was just thinking about that. Like, if it is a mechanical suit, what are the specifics that are happening inside to be able to mimic that, or is it just random? He's like happy and it's all squinty, and it's like, why are you so mad at me? I'm not. I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it's something like that. There's sensors inside that like are mimicking his facial expressions or something like that. Someone mentioned something about how like Deadpool did the expressive eyes first, and how like But
his was like CGI. That was CGI.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying they did this well. You think that there's actual mechanical moving eyes on Spider-Man's face?
Maybe. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know.
Let me rephrase that. The Spider-Man suit is meant to change eyes. Like they've built that into his story and his suit. Deadpool, that's not a function of his suit because it's just fabric. So that is just something that is pure animation and has no tie into what his suit can actually do.
Right. It's just him being expressive. It's
right.
It's what I assume it as is he's got, a suit on here, and then there's the eye cover that's underneath it. And so, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying there were comments about how, Deadpool beat him to the punch as far as having expressive eyes in a full masked suit.
Here's something that I think is just stupid. So we've moved from the DC movies versus the Marvel movies, which one was already stupid. You've got like...
You're right, because Marvel kicks their ass. Anyway, go ahead.
Going back to Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell, ELE, everybody love everybody. That's their motto. They put it up on the wall. But yeah, I mean, like, we're all geeks and nerds, and we all love comic books and stuff like that. And granted, we all have preferences of what we read, and some of us read more DC, some of us read more Marvel. And traditionally, like especially the last several years, Marvel sells a lot more comic books than DC does, which is, used to not be the case. But, like, why can't we all be happy for what's happening? We're getting something very different from both companies, very different, characters and tone.
But now it's Marvel on Marvel violence.
Well, and that's my point. Like, we've moved from that, so it's like, well, we've hated the people that are different. Now let's hate the people that are the same, too.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, well, Deadpool, it's like, listen, Deadpool is doing fine. I saw the other day that it's made more money than Iron Man and Man of Steel.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is, like, crazy.
Right, and I'm not saying it. I don't actually care about that. I just saw a comment about it, and I'm just like...
Right. And I know you're not saying
it's
that.
It's like weird.
But I've seen the same thing a lot, where it's like, Spider, and I think I sent you a couple of the GIFs or GIFs or whatever side of the internet you fall on. I'm going to say both of them, so either no one's mad at me or everyone is.
GIFs.
GIFs.
That sounds awesome.
Good GIFs. Good GIFs. That's good GIF. But like I sent you some of them, and where people like are making those things where it's either, well, Spider-Man did this better than Deadpool, or Deadpool did this first, and so it's better. It's like, come on, let's just celebrate in the fact that one, Deadpool did really, really well, especially for a movie that was made for not a lot of money. And so now, like, this director, there's no telling what they'll let him do now after doing this, or he may just be like cashing out and going home. Good luck.
Well, I hope not. He did a good job. I want more.
Know. But like, everybody love everybody, man.
Yeah, you're so positive. That's what I bring to this podcast. Some negativity. That's what we need on the internet.
Well, I'm being negative about the people who are being negative.
Double negatives. That makes
it positive. Damn it! I can't even be negative, right?
Anyway, well, cool. Did we want to mention a couple other things that are non-related to this trailer?
No.
Nope.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
That's fine.
So somewhat related to this, interesting, and obviously probably no accident on Marvel's part, but Civil War 2, which is a comic event, starts here in the next month or two, which apparently the whole premise is can you predict crime, and if you can, should you stop it? So it's kind of like the Minority Report
I was going to say the Minority Report?
Yeah. And Minority Report probably was maybe not even the first to do that, but they're taking that concept and bringing it into this, which is, I think, a very natural progression from what the first Civil War.
Who's predicting the crime?
I'm sure there's probably
someone with that power.
A meta-human who has that power that they're using. But this time it's Iron Man leading a side versus Captain Marvel leading another side. And they said who's on each side, and I can't remember. I think Captain Marvel's on the side for preventing the crime, and Iron Man is on the side for...
If you haven't done it yet, you're not guilty.
Right.
Yep.
I think that's the way it is, but I'm not positive. But I thought it's interesting that they're bringing back this concept of Civil War around the same time that the movie's happening, which again is probably not an accident.
Oh yeah,
but while
there's no way it's an accident. No, probably not. There's no
that's
way
a good point.
It's an accident.
They're sitting around the boardroom table one day.
You were doing Civil War?
We're doing Civil War. Jinx, buy me a Coke. Yeah, but I don't read a lot of Marvel comics. I try to stay up on what's happening in them just so I can, if something starts to happen that catches my eye and I want to read more about, then I'll jump into. So Civil War 2 will be one of the mini-series that I read. I normally try and jump in for their big, like, line-wide events and just read, like, the core mini-series that's happening.
Yeah.
So I'll read it, and I'll report back to you and let you know what happens because you're not going to read them.
Yeah, probably not. Unless you let me borrow them. I won't buy them, that's for sure.
No, that's right. Maybe I'll let you borrow them. I know what I could. Never mind. We'll talk about that off camera.
Okay.
Star Wars, which is also kind of a Marvel company.
Well, it's Disney, right?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Disney. Whatever. It's all the same.
It's all one big cabal. Everything we love.
That's right. Everything. Pretty soon they're just going to buy DC and be like, thanks.
Oh, man. Disney Infinity DC. It's coming.
All right, let me take just a second, because I told you this. I am hoping and praying for a Avengers Justice League crossover movie.
That would be pretty
They've
incredible.
done it in the comics
I know.
before. The movies are the new comics. I'm sure they can make it happen.
Who takes on Superman?
I think you either got to go.
Traditionally, you've had Hulk take him on.
Hulk's done it.
And
Maybe Thor.
yeah, I guess Thor could be.
I think it's got to be one of those two.
Yeah.
But
From the current MCU, you mean?
Yeah.
Is there any other Marvel character that they could bring in to take on Superman?
I'm sure there probably is. Captain Marvel would probably be someone who.
A lady, Wes. A lady.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, she is considered to be one of the most powerful, heroes out there. So maybe she is one of the ones to take him on.
Isn't I forget what his name is, but Reed Richards has like a son that's
Yeah.
like stupid powerful. You making fun of how I said that? Stupid.
No, I wasn't gonna make fun of you. I was gonna make fun of Reed Richards Jr. I think is his name.
Oh, is it?
No, it's Franklin. It's Franklin Richards, I think.
Yeah.
Like stupid. Hey, Dad. Oh, hi, son. You got your coloring books? Yeah, but I can't find my helmet.
And as he's coloring the coloring books, he colors the world around him.
Yeah,
He's changing all
they're like,
reality.
Wait a minute.
But no, like I from what I
Yeah,
remember seeing in some of the stuff about,
He's meant to be one of the most powerful, metas out there.
and he's just like a child, and their big struggle is how do we control this like kid that's hormonally and having all these temper tantrums and is like able to destroy the universe.
Well, and outside of the mainstream Marvel universe, he becomes a villain, and actually has to be stopped. But
Right.
so yeah, I mean that could be somebody if they're going a little bit more off the beaten path.
Right. And they don't own that property, but then again, we're talking about our dream movie.
I was gonna say if they're doing Justice League Marvel crossover, they've probably figured out a way to get the Fantastic Four back already.
Right.
So
I think they figured it out. Let them keep making shitty movies and just have them give up and give it back.
20th Century Fox comes by once a week. Can we get some money? We can't make any on our own because we keep throwing it down the dumpster. Oh man, that would be awesome if we could have that. And
Just everything. Why bring Dark Horse in? Bring some Dark Horse comics in too.
Spawn.
Why not? Spawn and what, Hellboy?
Yeah,
Just
everybody.
think about how like just busy that movie would be with all of those
So much.
characters. It would be unwatchable, dude.
There would
It
be no
like,
plot.
There would be like some cool moments in it, but it would be unwatchable.
You know what the title of the movie is? Fan service. Fan service, the movie. Is that Casper the Friendly Ghost? Bye, guys.
you mean Ghostbusters?
Anyway.
All right.
We're not going to talk about Ghostbusters right
No,
now.
we're
We'll
not.
save that. Yeah, so Star Wars. So a couple things going on with Star Wars. They officially announced that Han Solo is not going to be solo in his own movie.
Oh, who's going to be with him? I'm sure it's going to be really shocking.
It's going to be Boba Fett.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
actually, I wouldn't be surprised to see Boba Fett
Oh,
in there
yeah.
because he has
I
a
would
history with him.
Totally
but it's
assume that's gonna
Chewbacca.
happen. Yeah, it's Chewie. Chewie's going
And
to
I don't know why that's a big announcement. I mean, I assumed he would be in there.
Well, I think part of it is because they haven't really said how old he's going to be. And so I think some people have thought, maybe
Is it
it's...
before he met Chewie?
Right, if he's...
Is it how he met Chewie? It could be that.
I would love to see that story.
Yeah. Like the beginning of their relationship.
Oh, man, if they do that, and then, like, when you get towards the end of the movie, it does a flash forward to Force Awakens and just shows, like, a clip of...
Spoiler alerts.
Listen, it's been long enough.
I know, he dies.
Somebody listening right now just, like, got their whole world ruined.
Guess what? Han Solo dies in episode 8. Take that, internet.
Episode 8.
Episode 7.
There you go. Okay,
Episode
so-
7. They kill him again in episode 8.
Hey, he's back! Hands off.
Freaking Kylo finds his dead corpse, brings him back to life just to kill him again. He's like, take that, audience.
Dad, I brought you back. I know you couldn't be evil, son.
Oh, anyway.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, I mean, they showed like flash forward to that at the end of the movie to show the full circle of
Chewie
and
his
Han.
heart broken, and then we get a standalone Chewie movie.
Oh, that'd be good.
Just nothing but for 2 hours.
I will say one of the problems I think that you and I had with Force Awakens is whenever they end up back at the Rebel base or the Resistance base, and Han has died, Chewie walks right past Leia and Leia and Rey, hug. J.J. Abrams has come out and said that was a mistake that he made.
Yeah.
He owns up to it, and he's like, here's what I was thinking. I didn't necessarily portray it the right way, and so you're right. I should have had them have their moment.
I think that was a miss, but we do at least get to see Chewie having a moment of sadness a little bit late. I think it's right after that scene. He's sitting there.
Yeah, he's put his stuff kind of away, and he's like, you see him lamenting for just a second. It's a quick second, but I think it's probably the most emotional part with him is like at the time that Han actually gets killed, because Chewie's standing there and like sees it happening from a distance and is powerless to stop it.
Come on, Wookiees don't have feelings.
They're not real people. Oh man,
they're not real.
I may have talked about it last time, but I saw a little comic that somebody did online, and it's Chewie and Ben Solo turning into Kylo Ren, and so it's them like through the ages. And so first it's like Chewie holding a baby.
Oh yeah.
Then it's Chewie like playing like ball with a little boy, and it just keeps going until like one day, like it's Chewie sitting down and Kylo's sitting next to him, and he's got like, disgruntled, prepubescent or whatever he is whenever he goes off the deep end. And then the next shot is Chewie by himself, and he's all sad. And then the next one is him looking at Kylo through the sights of his bowcaster, and he's just stabbed Han Solo, and he's got it pointed at his head.
Yep.
And then he looks at him, and then he moves to the side and just shoots him in the side instead of shooting him in the head. Just like a little emotional. It's like, this is a kid that Chewie has seen grow up and has grown up with, and is like he's his uncle. He's his uncle that's always lived with him, and then he shoots him in the side.
Yeah. And guess what happens because of that shot? He kills your friend.
That's true. But
yeah, I had. I think that's one of the issues that I had when we were talking about the episode 7 was that whole, I don't think I had a problem with his shot missing as much as I had a problem with, Kylo's power set seeming to be all over the place. Like sometimes it seems like he's more powerful than we've ever seen anyone be. And then sometimes it seems like he's like totally unaware of his surroundings and getting shot and not deflecting the shots coming in. Because in the comics, we see Vader sense that Chewbacca is about to shoot him from a crow's nest around the way, and he senses it and turns around and deflects the shots.
Yeah.
That's a thing they can do.
It's definitely a thing. I will tell you, Vader in those comics, like I don't know how they ever beat Vader, because he is OP.
Right.
He's like, oh, there's only 1,000 of you. All dead.
Right.
But anyways, I digress.
Yeah, that's a whole different.
So episode 8 is in production. They've started filming. They're working on it. They've talked a little bit about it. We still don't have a title for it, which I'm hoping we get soon. Like I want to know what the title of it's going to be.
Okay, let's make our prediction on what it's going to be. Star Wars Episode 8.
Oh man, I don't know. I've tried to think about it. I don't know if I can come up with a good title for it.
Luke dies at the end.
First movie, secrets coming out the wazoo. This one, they're like, nope, we'll tell you everything you want to know about it.
Star Wars Episode 8. You're a fan of Luke? Don't watch this movie. Star Wars Episode 8.
The Force takes a nap.
Yeah. The Kylo Menace.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea what it's going to be.
The First Order Strikes Back.
So what we had Phantom Menace,
Attack of the Clones.
Oh, wait, was
Attack of the Clones.
Then
Revenge of the
Sith. We had A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
We had Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So now we have
The Force
Awakens.
So maybe something of something.
Rise of the Sith.
Maybe.
Although they're saying that a lot of people are saying they're not actually Sith, and that they look down on the Sith because they think that they were too into the dark side. A lot of people are saying that this new order of dark Jedis or whatever are embracing both the light and the dark or something like that because they feel like it gives them more power. That's some of the things I've read.
I don't know.
But
they say lots of things on the internet.
I know.
But
well, now I'm on the internet saying it too.
There's nothing that I saw in that movie that would make me think that. If anything else, I saw the opposite of.
Did they ever mention the word Sith though?
They never mentioned the word Sith. However, Darth Vader was a Dark Lord of the Sith, and Kylo Ren wants to be Darth Vader.
Right.
So to me, that says he wants to be a Sith. Maybe he's not. I mean, he's obviously not because he's not finished his training, and they talk about that. But then again, like I don't think we ever heard the word Sith in A New Hope. I mean, some of the movies we didn't hear that. So
Right. The original trilogy
yeah,
is a little bit different.
yeah. I don't
'cause-
think they ever said Sith in the
Yeah.
original, but
Anyway, I just think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they take that.
yeah. We've seen some shots of like production sets and things like that from the movies. It seems like, based on what we're seeing, that episode 8 is going to start immediately where episode 7 leaves off. Which, if they do that, will be really interesting because we've never had 2 Star Wars movies with like less than like 2 years in between them.
Yeah, there's always
or
a
a year in
gap.
between them. So for them to go right into another one will be really interesting. I know Daisy Ridley, who talks or who plays Rey, was saying like we do get to see Luke like using his powers, and he's a badass, and which I'd freaking hope so.
Yeah, no, I definitely hope we see a fully powered up
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker because we've never seen it
No,
in film.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
So
And we've seen some other sets. Like if you look online, maybe we'll try and throw up some pictures right here. There you go. Now you have to do it.
thanks, Wes, for giving me more work.
I said try. Now they'll
Yeah.
just assume that you couldn't or you failed. Anyways, there are more pictures coming up all the time, so you can see those online.
I hate you so much. Get away from me.
Let me touch you.
For those listening, Wes is trying to inappropriately touch me.
It's not inappropriate. It's just your.
It's totally appropriate. Just go with it. All right. What else? We've got TV shows renewed.
Oh yeah. Pretty much any comic book based TV show just got renewed for another season, except for Gotham.
And Agent Carter.
Oh yeah, Agent Carter.
So Gotham might not keep going.
They haven't announced a renewal for that yet,
Okay.
but Fox has also, I don't think, announced any of their renewals.
Okay.
The CW kind of announced all of theirs at once, and for Supergirl, the CBS president or whatever was talking at a thing one day, and he said, "Yeah, it's coming back for another season."
Okay.
So, yeah, so Arrow, Flash, which honestly, like, I don't think we've seen anything that would indicate that any of these shows would not be coming back.
Right.
If I had to guess one, I would guess Gotham would be one, but I think Gotham still gets some decent ratings as well.
It's one of the few ones that I actually watch.
Yeah, man, I wish you watched Arrow and Flash because
I tried, man. Like I could not get into them.
and you tried watching Flash also.
Yeah.
Man,
Has it had a full season yet?
yeah, it's almost done with the second season.
Okay, so its first full season is probably on Netflix now.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll give it another shot. I'll watch through the entire first season,
Yeah, you need to try.
and just do a binge watch and see how I land.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what I have to do, but man, I'll tell you, I did watch it as they were coming out. I was recording it,
Yeah.
and I could not get into it.
Oh man, I love the Flash. It's
But you're a DC fan, so I understand.
I am, but I think it is better than Arrow. Like even though they exist in the same universe,
I've universally
follow-
heard that Arrow's not as good as Flash.
I-
Sorry, Ray.
It'd be fine.
He's like, Arrow's the best.
Yeah, I mean, Arrow when it started out, I feel like was in like it was their CW cookie cutter show. Like there was some romantic angst and stuff like that, and they've gotten better. They've gotten away from a lot of that. Where now it's pretty much just pure superhero stuff most of the time.
Good.
It's definitely darker than the Flash is, but Flash is pretty much
Just
like
CW
it's
shows,
a
man.
living, breathing comic book is what I see it as. Like it every episode feels like it could be its own issue of a comic book.
Okay, I'll give it another chance and see it.
Yeah.
I just, in general, like, I don't even remember that these are on the CW, but it's like, oh well, that makes sense. They feel
Yeah.
like CW shows.
I'll tell you, they've been getting, I think, the highest ratings of like any shows they've ever had. So I mean, say what you will about that, but I feel like they are breaking the mold a little bit with some of the stuff that CW has. And when you look at shows, so like another reason you need to watch Flash is because I wouldn't recommend watching Legends of Tomorrow without Flash.
Wasn't
And-
planning on it, but okay.
Well, I'm just saying, but Legends of Tomorrow is also really, really good.
Yeah.
So you could maybe get by with not watching Arrow. You'd be lost on a couple of things because there are some crossover episodes and things like that. But you could always watch just that episode of Arrow. You can always figure out which one it is. But like I said, I think you would like Flash. I think if you gave it a chance to watch
I'll try watching it again.
Yeah.
I watched maybe halfway through the first season,
Yeah.
and then I just like didn't care, so I stopped watching it.
Supergirl has been progressively getting better and better. You watch maybe like the first episode.
Yeah, first maybe couple episodes,
Yeah.
and it was like, this is lame.
I feel like each episode gets better with it. So I'm excited for the Supergirl Flash crossover. You know, I don't enjoy Supergirl as much as I do Flash or Legends or maybe even Arrow, but I still watch it every week. You know, normally on the repeat and all that kind of stuff. But it's gotten a lot better, and I like it. I'm glad it's coming back for a second season.
Cool.
But I think that's all the news that I had that was appropriate to talk about in this episode.
I think I texted you something, and this is like, it wasn't even something we discussed about talking about, but dadgummit internet and people posting things that ruin shows that were literally on last night. Like, Walking Dead, I am like 90% sure I had a big thing ruined from last night's episode that I still haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it either.
Oh, hey, guess what we're doing after the episode?
That's why I didn't bring anything, because I assumed that's what we were going to do.
That's actually a good idea.
I have not heard, so...
I won't ruin it for you.
Please don't tell me.
I won't say, but this isn't a spoiler episode, so I don't want to spoil anything that's this live.
Somebody at work today was telling me about some show I should watch, and they're like, well, let me tell you this one thing. I said, wait, hang on a second. I said, is this a spoiler? And they're like, well, yeah, kind of. And I was like, don't tell me to try to watch a show and try and get me involved in it and then be like, oh, yeah.
I'm going to spoil something.
And then hear something. Like, you've never seen Star Wars before. Well, you should really watch it. The part where Darth Vader is his dad. Oh, man.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's dumb. Spoilers are ridiculous. But
my wife drives me nuts with that because she's like, because I'll see something and I'll laugh about it or I'll chuckle. And she's like, what are you chuckling at? I'm like, don't worry about it. They'll explain later. She's like, no, you tell me or else I'm going to look it up. I'm like, why are you going to ruin this for yourself?
Yeah. There's actually
Love
people...
you, sweetie.
She doesn't listen to this.
That's accurate.
Or if she did, she stopped listening long ago.
If she started listening and she made it through like an entire episode, I'd have to like buy her flowers or something because I'd be very impressed.
Yeah, you'd have to buy her flowers because she'd probably be really pissed at you.
Actually, there'd be a lot of flowers.
Anyway, but yeah, there's somebody at work that like is not only fine with spoilers, they want them. They like, no, I can't enjoy it if I don't know what's coming. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You want me to, literally, they wanted me to spoil things for them. They wanted me to tell them before they went and saw the movie. And I'm like, that makes no sense to me.
I live a little dangerously sometimes because I live on a lot of those news sites and that kind of stuff. And I'll read rumors and things like that. But if I pull up an article and like the first thing it says, and there's a couple of sites that are really good about this, they'll say, caution, major spoilers, and possible spoilers, maybe I'll read, but when they like are confirmed major spoilers ahead because they figured something out or something leaked, I normally will immediately get away from that and not even try to, look at it just because, one, I'm tempted to because I want to know, but I know that feeling of seeing it in the theater or on TV is much better than reading about it.
If I don't want a trailer to ruin something, I certainly don't want to go out and find an article that's going to ruin even more.
Yeah.
So, anyway, is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it. One thing that I need to mention, last episode, we mentioned that we were up to 2 viewers. And
you were incorrect.
I was incorrect, and I made a mistake. We are actually up to 3 viewers, or 3 listeners. I won't say they're all watching.
Yeah,
but we are up to at least 3 confirmed listeners. You know who you are out there. I told you we were going to get a shout-out, and this is your shout-out, because I'm not going to say your name. That's not what we do.
That's, of course, sarcastic. We actually have had a growing listener base, which is encouraging. The community is becoming a little bit more active on Facebook, at least like people looking at stuff. Not a ton of interaction yet, but for those of you that listen, join the Facebook group, and we definitely both pay attention to it and try to respond and want to hear feedback from people that are enjoying what we're doing.
Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, look down below for links to SoundCloud and iTunes, and mainly the subscribe button. Feel free to subscribe. Once we get to a certain number of subscribers, 100 being that number, we can get our own custom YouTube channel, which will be great. Be a little bit easier for people to find.
Yeah, for all the people in all the ways that they consume our content. Yeah, go to YouTube and hit subscribe. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Make about 5 different fake accounts and hit subscribe from those 2. Okay,
there you go. Yeah, that'd be great.
Game the system.
Everything you can find down in the description, no matter which service you're using. YouTube down below in the comment box, and SoundCloud and iTunes. Well, iTunes you can find it in the episode description, all that good stuff. So you can find all that stuff. Coming next week, preview for next week. Literally 1 week from tonight at this time,
we're going to be doing this. See, I'm going to put a thing there.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, why not? But it's going to go away as soon as I took my finger away. Now it's back, and then it goes away.
Oh.
Fancy.
If I do it?
Nope. You don't want to know what goes there when you put your finger off. You'll find out.
Can't wait to watch this video. But yeah, so a week from today, exactly this time next week, we will be in a advanced screening of Batman v Superman.
Yes, I'm almost more excited for the fact that we're going to an advanced screening than the movie itself. Like, I am excited for this movie. Don't get me wrong, but it's super exciting that we're going to a movie before it comes out fully.
The only way it could be more exciting is if we were getting invited to the advanced screening because of what we do here.
Hey, you know what? This is step one.
That's right, step one. We've got to get T-shirts made between now and then so we can wear it. Pass out business cards.
Dude, I've been thinking about making business cards because I talk to people about this, like, you know, just it comes up because I'm a nerd and I talk about nerd things anyway. And then I was like, well, I actually have a podcast. We talked about this some, blah, blah, blah. And so I want to be able to hand them a card that just has the links on it. So I don't have to like try to explain it's Chad and Wes and it's Wes with 2 S's and all that.
And the .com and the, so I was in the comic book store the other day and I'm sitting there flipping something and, this girl walks in that I went to college with, and she's like, hey, we got to talk. We haven't seen each other in a long time or whatever. And so we talked. She does like a D&D group. And so I told her about her Pathfinder and Star Wars. And we read similar comics. We were just comparing notes, that kind of stuff.
You said a girl came into the comic book store that you used to go to college with.
Yeah.
And she plays RPGs.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know she read comics or did any of this stuff in college. She was a friend of my wife's. But so we get done talking and she walks away and all of a sudden it hits me. Why did I not tell her about the freaking podcast? And so like she's up there paying on right there. I was like, don't. I'm like out of breath. She just leaves. She's like, weirdo. But I was like, don't forget to listen to the podcast that we have. And here it is. And cool. So hopefully if you're listening, hi. But anyways, yeah, so we can plug that.
Yeah, no, definitely we need to. Not even necessarily for this thing, because I don't know if we're going to be like hawking our podcast during the thing.
Make it rain!
But, you know, I think that it's something that we should do. If we're going to continue doing this, we might as well try to get people to listen.
Yep,
anyway.
I ain't stopping.
Yep.
Sit here by myself if I have to.
You're sitting in your house by yourself.
Yep, right here.
You should break into my house.
I got a key. You don't know it, but I do.
Uh-oh, did Nikki give it to you? I am gone 4 nights a week.
Never mind.
We're keeping this. Nope. All right, so if that's it,
that's it.
I guess we're going to say bye. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chad and Wes Watch a Trailer.